And we're back like we never left. Oregon fans, what's going on? How we living? Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. I'm your host, Max Torres, publisher and lead editor of Ducks Digest, covering the Oregon Ducks over on Fan Nation, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. Got a great guest to bring on for today's show. I am joined by Premium Sports 7on7 founder, Fig James. Coach, how we doing?
Oh, all good, Max. Appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I mean, this is kind of a new thing for me on the show. You're one of the many coaches that I've met out in the Southern California area. So I kind of just wanted to bring you on to get some of your thoughts on some of the Oregon guys that you've had the chance to coach before they got to Oregon, and then get some thoughts on kind of the portal and just the football landscape, because it's a crazy time right now. So I see that you got the fresh premium jersey on there. I mean, that I see your guys on the circuit, man, and they're always dripped out with the best stuff. So you can definitely count on that.
Look, shout out to our sponsors, Battle. Chris at Battle takes care of us. He does right by us. Nicole, Chris, they do great things for us. So shout out to Battle for keeping myself and the many players we have in our program taken care of.
Awesome stuff. Well, let's dive right into it, Coach, with some of the Oregon guys that you've been able to coach and mentor over the years. Maybe starting with some of the newer guys that just got there, and then some of the older guys we could talk about. But how about we start with Daylen Austin here? He's from the 2023 class, attended Long Beach Poly, and we know that he flipped from LSU to Oregon. What are your kind of thoughts on Daylen, and maybe some stuff that the average fan wouldn't know?
I mean, I think Dalen's a phenomenal athlete, great person. He comes from a great family. Mom and dad are great. I had his older brother first. Got him in our program in year one. He went to Poly. He just got with us and he crushed it. And he set the foundation for Daylen. But a lot of people don't know Daylen used to play receiver first. He's a primary receiver. And he didn't really commit all into playing DB until I believe his sophomore year. And that's when things kind of took off for him. I'm looking forward to Daylen having a great year. He and I just spoke 2 days ago. He just had a birthday pass. He's looking forward to spring ball. He's healthy. He knows the playbook. He knows the expectation. He's just ready to compete. Dalen's put on the right weight. He's got fast. He's got strong. And we're losing 2 corners this year. I'm an Oregon fan, so I know, this guy hit the portal, and, this guy, just entered the draft. He's at, the Senior Bowl right now, and then you bring in a lot of, transfer portal guys. He's going to either be in position to compete for the job, or he's going to sit here and learn from a guy that's being the experienced dude like Muhammad. I would think he'd be a plug-and-play dude, but that's not a bad guy to sit here and sit behind one more year and learn from. And I think they did a really good job last year at Oregon, rotating the young guys in and giving them opportunities, when they saw fit. And I think Dalen's, he's benefited a lot from, sitting behind, was Kari Jackson, the Bama transfer?
Kyrie Jackson.
Sat behind some good guys, James that he can learn from. So, I think they'll have a great offseason with winter workouts coming up right now, spring ball, and then transition to summer and fall.
Yeah, Dalen's one of those first guys that I got to kind of cover and get to know once I moved down to Long Beach. I mean, Long Beach just up the street from me. So super excited to see what he can do in year 2 at Oregon. I think he's got a lot of the traits that you look for in a Dan Lanning defense cornerback. Lengthy, can run and can cover, ball skills, the whole nine. Exactly. Let's stay at Poly for a second here, Coach, and talk about Dylan Williams, the 2024 Oregon linebacker signee. I mean, I think that a lot of these linebackers that the Ducks are getting in this class, they kind of fit the sideline to sideline, athletic, can run, physical. I've gotten to see him a couple times in games this year. What can you tell us about Dylan Williams?
I love Dylan. He's a kid that I've known since he was 12. Played for White House out here in Southern California, which was like one of the top youth teams in this time at that time. Dylan played safety most of his youth years. Played some safety. High school played some safety. So he's athletic enough to cover, and he can cover. And he's slowly growing into his frame. And Dylan's actually younger than a lot of people. He's not a kid that's like a 2-time holdback. So expect for his frame to continue to grow and fill out. He's a kid that probably needs a red shirt year one. But I could definitely see him doing a lot of things that Bossa did for the Ducks. He's athletic as heck. He's willing to learn. He's humble. He's not a kid that's going to get too high or get too low. He takes coaching. He's like that with myself when we dealt with him this last offseason. And I think it's going to be phenomenal for the Ducks this year. Just learning, soaking in, learn from the right guys. And I think it was great to have some of these guys on the Ducks defense return, so he can get that experience. But he's someone I'm definitely high on to come in year two, even year three. You got to get these kids to understand you don't have to play now. You can sit in. If you have to sit for a year or two, it's because you have to develop. It's not because the coach don't like you. It's probably because you can't develop or you're not developed yet, right, to be the best version of yourself.
Sure.
And if it takes 2 years for him, I will continue to push him to stay. But once he get on the field, he won't leave, and he shouldn't leave.
Let's talk a little bit about what you were saying there, how Dylan used to play safety. I didn't know that, but I mean, seeing that, you can understand why his coverage skills are where they are. It kind of feels like with how athletic today's linebackers are, we're seeing some former safeties making that move down to come. I mean, look at Bossa. He's a perfect example, right? Just on Oregon's roster. Can you shed a little bit of light, from a coach's perspective about how being a safety is kind of aiding that transition to linebacker?
Well, the football game has been transitioned to a passing game. Outside of the, let's say the NFL, I believe 3 of the 4 teams in the NFL use the tight end, which is, the traditional way of football, but it's untraditional at this point, right? Because everyone else is spreading it out. And so with those safeties who aren't the best covering guys, but they're physical, that Dylan was, they're now making a transition to the box where they're going to play around 200 and, 218 to 230. It can fluctuate, right, depending on the system, the scheme. But he has that experience to cover a tight end. He has the experience to cover a running back. I think it benefits, the right scheme, the right program, the right development. And I think Dylan's in the right place to get that, the development, to take those old skills that he has, to put him in situations where he's in the Big Ten now, where there's a lot of Big Ten programs that plays in 11V. Oregon's like one of the only Pac-12 programs that was primary 11 personnel every snap. Well, the Big Ten is quite often it's happening. So he should be able to cover those those bigger guys and still be able to sit here and get in run fits at the same time.
Okay, yeah, I'm super excited to see how he kind of develops once he gets to Oregon. And I know he was at kind of an interesting weight. I think he was like 6'2", 215, kind of around there. So we'll see how he does once he gets into that Wilson Love strength and conditioning program. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add about Dylan. I mean, I'll throw a picture of him up on the screen here when he was with Premium on the 7-on-7 circuit.
Yeah.
So I saw him play a little bit of tight end against Long Beach Jordan. That was the last game that I saw him play. 2 of the better teams in Long Beach, but Pauly really runs Long Beach if you're just looking at things historically.
Don't let Romeo hear that. Don't let Romeo hear that.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, in recent years at least, right? But no, Milliken's definitely got a great program over there under Romeo Pelham. He's been a coach I've gotten to know as well. But they're like, of course, Ryan Pelham, his younger brother, going to Oregon playing receiver. But let's stay at linebacker, coach, and talk a little bit about another one of the Premium guys headed to Oregon. We got Kamar Matti, who was at Campbell Hall his junior year when he got offered, and then he ended up transferring to Los Alamitos. And this guy, I think this stat that I always think is so interesting with him is that he led his league in tackles and rushing yards his junior year, which just is a combination that you don't see all too often in today's game of football. So just wanted to get some of your thoughts on Kamar Matti from your time getting to know him and having him aboard Premium. Oh, did I lose you, coach? Let me see. I'll pause the recording here. I think I might have lost you. So Kamar Matti, 2024 Oregon linebacker signee, was another standout for you guys at Premium, Coach Fig. Would love to just get your take on him as a player. It's another athletic linebacker heading to Eugene.
Sky's the limit. Big, fast, strong, long. He played at Campbell Hall for his first 3 years of high school. Great coach over there, Dennis Keys, UCLA safety. He did really some good things with him, and I mean you can see it. He took his last year and played at Los Al, which the game was it was different from him. He had to play against tougher competition, and he kept playing like Kamar. He has so much room to grow, and he's another kid that's definitely he's a kid that's willing to accept coaching. So when you got a lot of these kids nowadays that have offers and high rankings and all this, they tend to have it figured out in high school. I don't have to do. He's never been that way. Dylan's never been that way. Kamar, he's always listened. He always worked hard. He always wanted to be the best in the room, and he's just so respectful, man. His parents, his mom, his dad, his siblings, they're just so respectful. They're so appreciative. They're the people you want to see make it. Yeah, man. Like we don't have to even talk football with him. He has the family that you want to see make it. You know what I'm saying? And and that's not saying any others we spoke about aren't, but that's just what stands about them. They're over appreciative of everything. Yeah, but he's a guy, with Oregon bringing in him and Dylan, Bash Brothers. That's what they named themselves. They're the Bash Brothers. And when we play against teams, I mean, when we got to zero looks, they cleaned up shit across the middle. They cleaned things up across the middle. They played physical. They fed off each other's energy. I know Kamar, he's been up there for a little bit. Dylan's going to get up there now. They're going to push each other. They're going to sit next to each other. They're going to push each other. They're going to grow together. And it's going to be a sight to see them in the next 2 to 3 years in the Big Ten, causing havoc.
Having Kamar and Dylan, two really close friends that have played together and trained together as long as they have. I mean, just the iron sharpens iron mentality, I think is certainly going to be something with them. And Kamar is such a stand-up guy. Like he talked about, when I saw him in San Antonio, he talked about how happy and excited he was to learn from Jeff Bassa, who chose to come back for another year. Just, taking that mentality of kind of being able to wait in the wings, but still get better and soak up all that knowledge. I think that's huge. And then just what a character guy. I mean, every time I talk to this guy, it's Mr. Torres, how's it going? Like, great to see you. Super stand-up guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do at the next level. And I think here's another question similar to the safety to linebacker transition. For a guy that plays linebacker to have played running back, I don't think he didn't focus on running back when he was at Los Al. This was more his junior year and preceding. What kind of a value do you think it brings to a linebacker to have played running back, prior to getting to the college level?
He understands blocking schemes. He understands pull pin and power and stretch. So he knows what should come from it. I mean, it depends if you're reading the triangle or reading the box, whatever your keys are as a coach. Some guys get taught them. Some guys just naturally understand them. If he's being taught by the guys up at Oregon, which are some of the best in the country, and he naturally understands it, it should definitely pay off for him.
For sure. Okay. There's one more premium guy that is at Oregon right now that has some ties to your program, and that's wide receiver Treashun Holden. He played at Harbor City Narbonne down here in Southern California. And you might be able to clear this up because I saw on the rosters that is he originally from Florida and then moved out here? I was trying to clear up that connection.
Unique story. He's originally from Florida. He's from Kissimmee, Florida, which is on the outskirts of Orlando. He played school and high school ball in Baltimore. Can't think of the powerhouse out there.
St. Francis?
St. Francis. And then just needed a change. And his mom, she found work out here in California. And he transitioned to California and ended up at Narbonne High School where he played his senior year. And, that's how he got recruited to the West Coast. That's how he developed his relationships to the West Coast. Initially signed with Bama, but he made his way back west based on, the 1 year he stayed out here.
Okay. Yeah, it's so wild in today's high school football, just all the stops guys make and the transfers. It's a little hard to keep up with at times, but that definitely sheds some light on his West Coast ties, of course. And coach, with Traeshon, I think he has a unique opportunity at Oregon because he came in last year from Bama, obviously, and I thought he had a really good season, but maybe just the volume wasn't there. But when the volume was there, I think he made the most of his opportunities. What do you think about him going into 2024 and just what he brings to the table?
Well, I think Oregon receiving corps was a loaded receiving corps last year. I think they had a lot of guys. Junior Adam does a great job with development, the development in that room. And the coaches prior to him, they did, a great job with developing the guys that was there first. But he took that group of guys and he made them, he made them a top 5 team in the country. And Traeshon just came in a unique situation where you had Troy Franklin, who's been in the program for 2 years. He knew the expectation of, being an Oregon Duck. Traeshon, early, we know he had a few things that was going on which kind of sat him back and pushed him forward. And he had to get back comfortable. Then you bring in guys like Tease, and then you got, Franklin, and Tease already has a natural organic relationship with the quarterback. And then Franklin just being the number one guy. With Oregon also been a team that runs the ball heavily, but sit here, takes their shots and learn a new system with coach coming over. There's a lot of different things. You have, Gary come in and a few younger guys. You want to share the ball with, with Noah, and then you got Bucky. It just wasn't enough balls to say all that, right? And so with losing Troy and needing someone to come in and step up, I think Traeshon's in a really, really, unique situation this year to fill that void. Not saying that he'll be I think Troy called for like 86 and 13 or something like that. Not saying that Trey is going to have that season. I would love for him to. But 86 balls just opened up, right? And he's someone that knows the system, he knows the offense, and he should be able to get in on the field and, play right away. With coach, throwing a lot of those down screens and Traeshon being one of the bigger receivers on the roster and able to block, he should bring a lot of value into that. And, of course, if you can block on screens, you can block and go. And then he also can catch the ball across the middle. He's eager. He's excited to get to it. He and I spoke, and we spoke 2 days ago, too, because he was currently in L.A. while I was in Miami. And he's like, what's up? Where you at? I'm in Miami. Great personality. He wants to work, loves lifting weights. Trey wants to get after it. So I think this it's a great thing for him, and at the same time, the new quarterback there doesn't know no one. So he doesn't have a favorite target at this point. So Trey can sit here and get in with him and just build the time and the rapport and relationship for him to have an outstanding last year.
I think he'll be utilized a lot more in 2024. So he's a weapon to keep an eye on for the Ducks here this next season. Let's switch gears here a little bit, Coach, and talk about kind of more big picture things in the high school scene, the college scene. Wild time in college football right now. So much change going on. But let's stay here in Southern California. I know your brother, Milvon James, is the head coach over there at Inglewood.
Yes, sir.
So just kind of wanted to hear a little bit about what you've seen from him and from the team over there.
Totally unbiased. I think he's the best coach in Southern California. You have a lot of great programs out here. You have Bosco's, you have the Mater Days, Mission Viejos, Corona Centennials. But the resources they have are endless. Millie has no resources. He has 6 coaches on the staff, and he's been coaching at Inglewood for 5 years, and he's lost 6 games. He took them as a Division 14 program in year 1 to the semifinals, and then the next year they had one of the highest jumps in CIF history from D14 to Division 2. And he went on to play in the Division 2 semifinals where he lost to Alamany, which is a powerhouse out here, who had guys like Ephesian Price Scott, Kevin Green, and Efi. I mean, they just totally loaded, right? Until the next year he goes and play in the Division 2 championship versus Sierra Kane, which is another powerhouse out here. It just comes from loving football and loving inner city kids. His why is why he has the success. He does it because he's an inner city guy. Played at Fremont High School under Peter Duffy. He just loves his inner city kids. I mean, not saying he doesn't like, kids in suburbs, but his reason of coaching at Inglewood is to help the kids that look like him. And so I always, mention this to people. Say if he had the resources and the help that everyone else had, what would he do? What could he do? Recently just got a new weight room. Prior to that, for 4 years, he had a weight room that had, mice in it. Mice actively ran through the weight room and rats while kids lift weights. He had a field that had, a practice field that had no lights. So when daylight savings time, practice ended an hour earlier. He's coached playoff games with no lights, and coaches put cars on the field. And once again, it's 6 coaches. 6 coaches on the roster. So how much can you get done with only 6 coaches on the roster? So, I love him as a brother. I think he's a phenomenal coach. He continuously, year in, year out, gets kids to college. This is a stigma that inner city kids, you have to go to elite privates or suburb programs to go to college, and he's changing that. He's sent a kid to college, minimum 3 kids to college every year since he's been coaching. The most he's sent in 1 year was 17. This year he has 6 seniors. He sent 3, and he's probably gonna have another kid signed in 4 days. So yeah, man. I mean, I love him. I think he does a great job with the kids. His why is in the right. His why is a good reason why the kids are doing great things, and I think my mom raised him right. Yeah, I think she did a great job with him.
Kind of like what you were saying with Kamar, it really feels like it's a sky's the limit situation. And every time I've come out to Inglewood, it's always been great to chop it up with him and just to see the progress that he's made with that Inglewood program just in the short amount of time that I've been down here. I can't speak to the years before that quite as much. But yeah, the Inglewood program is always one that's I think it's gonna give you a fight. You're gonna get their best shot every week, and they're kind of I feel like a sleeper. Not, and I don't say that any kind of disrespectful way, but it's like they don't get the credit they deserve.
Max, 36 kids on the roster.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things. There's like 36,
not. I mean, I was out there with you when we had Longstreet. I mean, Hassan Longstreet is considered the #1 player in the class of 2025, and it's all of what he started at Inglewood. He transitioned. He made. He moved out to Corona, and he's over at Centennial now. But he did a lot of that. He blew up. He picked up his Oregon offer for what he did at Inglewood. And he's a kid that was just a sophomore, never starting a varsity game. And Milvon took him in and developed him and put him in situations. Same thing with Jamar Johnson, who you cover as an Oregon, guy who went down to the wire and ended up signing with Louisville. But Jamar is a kid that really transitioned from a quarterback at 6'5", 260 pounds to a top 10 tight end in the country. He just does a great job, man, and he understands the game of football. But most importantly, his kids play for him. They play for him. Most of them are on their last leg. Situations weren't great at other places, or they weren't heavily sought out there in youth. So they came to Inglewood High School, and really he instilled hope. He instilled that you can do it. And I think the city is behind him. I think they're 100% behind him, and it's just growing. I would love to see him at the 55 to 60 player number. But the biggest story is if he gets 55 to 60 players on varsity, will there be enough helmets or shoulder pads to field the team? Those are some of the things that he has to literally deal with. Like, do I have enough shoulder pads, or do I have enough thigh pads to give if I, have 55 or 60 kids? But yeah, they are a sleeper. They can beat anyone at any given Friday.
We're getting a lot of excuse me, sorry. We're getting a lot of great stuff here, Coach. I know we're a little bit past the time that I kind of told you. How are we doing on time? I want to be respectful of what you got going.
We're good.
Okay, cool. I got one more on Inglewood that I think is such a fascinating big picture question. You talked about how the resources are different at the bigger schools or the private schools maybe, but I want to focus on what you said about how the city is behind the Inglewood program. The city is behind your brother coaching that team. Can you just talk about kind of what the Inglewood team means to the city? Because I feel like we don't necessarily get all of that at the big privates as much.
It's a namesake. Inglewood High School is the name of the city. If you look at, let's say, we'll use which was one of the best public schools in the state, Mission Viejo. It's in the city of Mission, Viejo. So the kids grow up wanting to be, they start as baby Diablos or the Cowboys, and they go to become Mission Viejo Diablos under Chad Johnson. When you have a school named after a city, if you put the right time into it, the city will come behind it. And it's taking some time, but it's getting there for Millie. It's getting there. You can see people who acknowledge him in the streets today. Hey, Coach Millie. Hey, Coach James, because he's doing it right. Inglewood's a rich city in terms of love. You'll get a kid from Inglewood. He doesn't go out of state and say he's from LA. He's out from Inglewood. Montana Lamonius Craig. He starts receiver over at Arizona. His name is Mr. Inglewood. People respect the city and they rep the city. And so as long as Millie continues to do right by the city, and he brought back the Inglewood Junior Sentinels, which is a youth program, brought them back to campus and, allowed them to sit here and use the field, it's going to continue to grow. If you play football and youth football in Inglewood, you play for Inglewood Youth Sentinels. The kids want to be, they're the Junior Sentinels. They want to be like the high school guys. And that's just him just understanding, how to do things right and getting the people behind you. And we're not from Inglewood. We're born and raised on 6th and Figueroa. We're born and raised in LA. Where we stay 27 minutes away from here. But he could have took a role on at another school because he initially started coaching at a school that was a block away from our home. He's a guy that's for community. First coaching job, Hawkins High School on 6th and Hoover. Millie grew up on 6th and Figueroa. Next job, and he moved to the city of Inglewood. He took over Inglewood. So he's not looking to go to the fancy place with the shiny logo or, everything handed to him. He's a grinder, and he wants to work for the inner city kids and let them experience what he's seen.
Certainly, doing it for the right reasons. And I love the story behind the community ties, Coach. Let's go big picture again and just talk a bit about the state of college football and kind of specifically the transfer portal, because I know you're obviously very tied in and a big figure on the high school scene. A lot of people kind of say, the whole transfer portal emphasis is taking away some opportunities for high school kids, guys that are maybe working their tails off to get an offer now, even to hopefully sign during the February signing period. Can you just shed some light on your thoughts on how the portal has affected the high school opportunities for some guys?
It's definitely affected the opportunity for high school guys. But what I will say is high school parents now have to be a bit wiser with the decisions they make with sending their kids to the right high school. You can no longer go to, I won't say no longer. It's not as common as it shouldn't be as common as it used to be, where a kid can go and sit in the developmental stage. I'm going to play freshman. I want to play JV. I'll play varsity for 2 years. My senior, I should be a captain amongst the top 10 players on the team and sign. Now it's like, look, I have to put myself in a position to play varsity, if not as a freshman or as a sophomore, to get on the scene. If you're just now getting reps as a senior, the likelihood of you going to college is slim now. So now the smaller programs, the Inglewoods, the Millikens, Romeo, that's why they're having great years, because they're getting the kids that would typically be at the Boscos and Modern A's or the Corona Centennials and sitting and waiting the process. They're getting them at their high school now. So I don't think the NIL or the transfer portal is a bad thing. I think parents have to wake up and smell the flowers and realize I can no longer sit here and say, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to go to this private school. I'm going to sit for 3 years, trust that I'm going to get out, because it's not going to work like that. The average program now is taking, 15 portal kids and then leaving with 10 high school kids. And I explain to parents all the time, being the best kid on your high school team is not enough anymore. It's high school, it's league, then it's city, then it's region, then it's state, then it's coast. This isn't 2006 when I came out of high school where, LA kid, if you're Pac-12, you're Pac-12. You're Mount West from LA. And they recruited, of course, their cities, but they rarely got into Texas. Now I can send a kid's huddle from LA right now to Mario Cristobal, who I was just with, last weekend, and he can offer a kid that fast and say, I want you, and they can actively recruit that kid within minutes. It's not, I have to go to the post office, wrap this VHS or DVD up, or I have to sit here and upload it to YouTube, and it's going to take 24 hours to buffer and load, and it's going to be this static. It's not that. You get an active huddle link. I can send it to a Division I coach, in a matter of seconds. He can watch the first 3 or 4 plays, offer a kid a scholarship. So kids now can go anywhere. Miami can recruit Cali. Cali can recruit Midwest. Midwest can recruit East Coast. So now a kid just can't be good in his region anymore. He has to be good nationally. He has to be nationally good. I mean, look at SC star middle linebacker, number 9, I can't think of his name. But he's a kid that was recruited from, Philly, Pennsylvania, then signed to Arizona State, and then transitioned to SC. That's a far travel. It's a far travel, but it's happening. So I think the portal's going to stick around, and I'm not against the portal because these college coaches are getting paid, millions of dollars and to win, And I also agree that, we make careless decisions as, 18 to 19-year-old kids were signing. I signed, Cincinnati out of high school, which was a great decision, schematically. I love Brian Kelly. I love the city. But when I got there, I signed to one coach. All right. When I got there, Bob Diaco was my DC. The DC I signed to was a press man DC. 1 high, 2 high. We're going to play press man, put our hands on it. Well, he signed, ended up going to South Florida. Bob Diaco came over from Connecticut, and we played a lot of cover 3, which wasn't what I was great at. I was good at it, but I wasn't great at it, so I didn't feel comfortable playing it. Because my coach who coached me in community college was Dante Williams, who's now at Georgia via USC.
I didn't know that.
Dante Williams was my coach. That's my mentor. Dante made me play press man. So I played at El Camino College every snap with David Canales, who just took the job over at, Carolina Panthers. He was a quarterback coach at Elko. Dante Williams is the cornerback coach. I played press man every snap. So when I got when I got to Cincinnati, and they got me dividing between 1 and 2, and dividing, then picking up pedal, and I'm at 15 to 18 yards off post snap. But I'm used to sitting there putting my hands on guys. It was like, all right, look, this is tough. So I transferred back down to LA, and I knew I was going to have to sit a year. Well, if I had the portal at that time, I would have probably transferred to Washington, where Coach Demetrius Martin was at, who offered me a scholarship. I chose Cincinnati over UW. I probably would have transferred to Washington, or I would have transferred to Boise State, who had Marcel Yates, who recruited me, offered me as at Boise. And both those programs were trending up. Sark was the just first-year head coach at Washington, and Coach Peterson was at Boise State, but Coach Yates was notorious for coming in LA and recruiting kids. But I took the leap of faith and chose Cincinnati based on them. They had 3 cornerbacks that just played in the Orange Bowl versus VTech. He just came over and he did great things. And they had 3 DBs that was getting drafted. I'm like, look, I'm going to go and play. But like I said, they went from press man to cover 3. If I had the opportunity to transfer and hit the portal, I probably went to a different program and had more success. But instead, I came home, had to wait and see, weigh my options, sat a year out at home, and then transferred to Nevada, which I ended up following Dante to Nevada, which ended up being a cover 3 team also because of the transfer. I mean, the DC I signed to wasn't the DC that was there when I played. It was Andy Boo, who came over from Stanford, and we were a cover 3 slot pro call team, 4-3. We played man as a Mitchell, a switch up. So I still have to say, the portal will give kids who make the wrong decision an opportunity to right their wrongs. And I think it's fair. Because I wish I had that opportunity.
Wow, that's an interesting story. Just kind of seeing your path and moving all over the place and having to wait, and how there's so much flexibility now with players just being able to move so quickly. A couple more for you, Coach, then I'll get you out of here.
Sure.
One of the things that was so interesting to me when you were kind of talking about your story when you were getting recruited out of high school was how you had to go to the post office or wait for something to upload and buffer. But like you said, now it's just instant. Like everything's at your fingertips. It's the digital age. Can you just talk about the importance of exposure? Because I think that is such a key word when you're looking at any level of football. And ultimately, a lot of these guys don't even get on college radars unless they have that exposure, whether that's high school, sevens, showcases, tournaments, camps, you name it. Just talk about the importance of exposure, especially if you're coming from, maybe it's not an LA, maybe you're coming from kind of a middle of nowhere area.
Exposure to everything. I mean, It's the reason why commercials and ads for the Super Bowl are sky high, right? They're premium, right? It's that product placement, right? Because the right exposure can do wonders for people, right? And so that's like what makes our program successful, because we give our kids a stage, right? We give our kids a stage no matter what city we're in. We're kids on that's premium. We make sure we wear the right things. We make sure our jerseys look a certain way for people to identify and understand, well, this team looks the part, so they should be a part. And that's why year in, year out, we have kids that sign. We signed 26 kids Division I last year, solely because we put our kids in situations to be seen, whether it's our young team or older team, or our kids sign. The least amount of kids I believe I signed ever was 23 kids out of premium 1 year. The most I've signed is 31. It's the reason why the Bryce Youngs are, and the Bijan Robinsons are affiliated with premium, because we do right by the kids. We've had a kid at the Army All-American game, at least 2 to 3 kids every year since we established ourselves in 16, because we put our kids in that situations and in exposure. So all that being said, you have to sit here and put yourself in situations to be seen. You can no longer sit here and just wait and hope and cross your fingers. Dante and I spoke yesterday for about 30 minutes when I got in off my plane. And he went to see one of our kids, RJ Sermons, over at Rancho, and he asked about my thoughts of RJ, and he went to check him out. But he also mentioned to me that he only has a few days here. How can he see every cornerback in California in 2 days? How is he able to sit here and stay at the LAX hotel, wake up, hit the South Bay while fighting LA traffic, eat breakfast, eat lunch, have dinner, get proper rest to do it again? It's impossible. So you have to put yourself in situations to be seen. You have to put yourself in situations to be with the right people. And I think that what a lot of parents are starting to figure out, there's still a ton of them who just don't know. It's a digital age. One catch, one play, you can go viral, and that can change your whole life. Can't think of the young man's name. He's from Texas. He's a 2020, I believe, 5 commit for Oregon, receiver.
Adrian Wilson,
right? Adrian Wilson is playing for a 7-on-7 team. He doesn't want to play for me, right? I actually introduced myself to Adrian this weekend in person in Miami. I seen this kid make this spectacular catch where he went viral, right? And I reached out to the young man. I'm like, yo, you have a lot of ability. Just the fact that he can go up, track the ball, and find it and come down with it. And then from there, I piqued my interest, and I continue to watch him. Well, I'm great friends with, Wadu, who's over at Oregon. I sent the tape to Wadu like, hey, this kid, you guys need to recruit this kid. Y'all need to recruit him. They recruited him. They offered him. He's now an Oregon commit. All it took was one play, that play. That's it. It just took that one play to change that kid's life. And, I mean, I don't know what his recruitment's like prior to that, but I do know he's now an Oregon commit off of that video. I seen it, got it to Wadu. Wadu got it to whoever he had to get it to, and the offer is put out, and now he's an Oregon commit. So, yeah, times has changed, man. They have changed drastically.
It's wild just to even think about how football has changed from my days. I was in high school from 2012 to 2016. I was a nobody. I wasn't making plays like Adrian Wilson, I'll tell you that much.
Right.
But it's crazy just to see how that can magnify, the platform and the hype and gets you in front of who knows who. But Coach, I could talk to you all day if if you let me. But before we get out of here, I mean, we've talked about so many great things. I just kind of wanted to hand the mic to you, whether you wanted to talk about more premium stuff or any guys that, you think need more love or more attention. We can talk Inglewood, just any final thoughts before we get you out of here.
I have too many kids at premium to mention one in particular. But what I will tell the fans or any coaches or anyone in the country that's watching is that we're a brand that consistently puts out a great product. Our kids will play with an edge. Our kids will play the right brand of football. We have great coaches around us, and we do things the right way. We have a ton of kids that's playing college football today, and we just do it the right way. We're not out here soliciting kids with NIL to play for us. So understand when you get a kid that plays for premium, he's not going to be a kid that's going to sit here and be bouncing around. Who's going to sign to your university and then look for, X amount of dollars. And if he doesn't get that, he's going to leave. We vet our kids and sign the right kids. When a kid plays for premium, all right, he's a kid that's committed to a brand and to a coach. Right? He's not committed to me purchasing a free flight for him or me, fattening his pockets or comping him for free. So when these kids that play for premium sports sign your university, he's a kid that's probably buying into that program because he feels it's the best fit for him. Now, of course, you have the exceptions where, kids have done different things. That's a part of our program. But I'm talking about as a whole. For the most part, the general premium kid, he's a kid that's going to buy in, like Madden Williams. He's a phenomenal player. He's going to buy into the brand. So if Madden Williams becomes a Duck, he's going to be at Oregon for Dan Lannon and the staff around him, Junior Adams, not because of solely NIL. Myself, I'm a guy that's for the people. I built premium for our people. We call it FUBU, for us, by us, but we have kids from all walks of life. We run a phenomenal program. It's affordable for any and everyone. And we just want to have fun and have kids, just sit here and see things. And, went to Miami. I told our kids I want to win. There's, 70 plus teams there. And I said, listen, if you guys fall short of winning, you guys should just be 69 losers. There's only be one winner. But I want you guys to experience, Miami University. I want you guys to experience South Beach. I want you guys to experience this culture. And I think that's what people lose sight of in 707. Everyone's looking for instant gratification or instant success. They want to sit here and, go viral for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm a competitor. I definitely compete. I definitely go to these tournaments to win. But at the same time, I want my kids to understand that it's not a business in high school. These are the great times. College football has become a business, and of course, professional football is a business. So while we at this level, let's enjoy it. So that's what you're getting as a leader of men amongst your kids. So if you have kids in the the Los Angeles area or anywhere in Southern California, Northern California, not saying I wouldn't take a kid from any other city, but I built premium for LA. That's why our jerseys are mimicking the Angels. It's for us. I'm for the high school kid, but I built it for LA. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, if you guys want to, tap in with premium, I got it on the screen here on YouTube, at premium sports _LA. Definitely one of the premier groups out here in Southern California. Probably going to have an Oregon commit or two coming from premium in the coming, cycles. But just wanted to say a big thank you to Coach Fig for coming on. If you guys want to find me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at mtorresports. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Oregon Football Max Torres and read me over at ducksdigest.com. But until next time, you've been listening to another episode of the Ducks Dish Podcast.